Is hardcore too easy for you? Well, do I have the solution for you? Turn off your computer and grab the Dungeon Master's Guide. And Xanathar's Guide. Yes, and also the Player's Handbook. You can't exactly make a game without players, so yeah, you're going to need the Player's Handbook as well. But other than that, these materials are the only things you need to have a better, more challenging Minecraft experience. How so? That is what we are going to talk about today. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drahjan, and welcome back to another video. I guess you can call this one of my homebrewy videos. But like most of those videos, I mostly just look at the rules as written and tell you about how these rules function. And today is no different. I'm just simply looking at the rules to see how you can play Minecraft in Dungeons and Dragons, rules as written. And surprisingly, there is a lot of rules that no one uses but would be perfect for a Minecraft-style campaign. And I do mean that nobody uses these rules. I have not encountered a lot of these rules. A couple of these rules I have mentioned before, but I'm going to make sure not to cover them again, and just point you to the videos that I have covered those specific rules. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the main part of Minecraft, and that is crafting. In the Player's Handbook on page 187, under Downtime Activities, you have this section on crafting. For every day of downtime you spend crafting, you can craft one or more items with a total market value not exceeding 5 gold pieces, and you must expend raw materials worth half the market value of the item. If something you want to craft has a market value greater than 5 gold pieces, you make progress every day in 5 gold piece increments until you reach the market value of the item. Furthermore, in Xanathar's Guide, we have a more simplified version on page 128 in the section Example Downtime Activities, Crafting an Item. To determine how many work weeks it takes to craft an item, divide its gold price by 50. A character can complete multiple items in a work week if the item's combined cost is 50 gold or lower. So, pretty good, right? It's actually really challenging to be able to craft your own items, and it makes sense that it would take so long, because you need to gather materials, and you need to craft out whatever you're wanting. It makes perfect sense. And all you need is swords, shield, a bow, arrow, pickaxe, an axe, and of course your standard suit of armor. It's actually really simple when you think about it. And the armor itself is actually pretty well priced. Your leather armor is priced at 10 gold pieces. Really cheap. So that's going to take 2 work days. 2 downtime sessions. Same with a shield. But chainmail is 75 gold pieces, and plate is 1,500. Though more than likely you'll be using half plate, as it's not only cheaper, but you'd be able to mess around with other armor pieces. And like I said, shield is 10 gold pieces, so realistically, it's possible to craft these items somewhat quickly. I mean, it's going to take 2 days to create your shield or your hide armor, but you'd still have a good set of tools to start out with. Speaking of your weaponry, you got your short sword at 10 gold pieces, as well as a battle axe, and the short bow at 25 gold pieces. Now, I say short bow because the crossbow seems to be roughly the same exact size as the standard recurve crossbow, which I can see it. And this is the easiest of the crossbows to make, which is why why the light crossbow is one of the lightest ones, but is also easier to make. There's also the compact crossbow, which is most likely the heavy crossbow equivalent, and then there is the pistol crossbow, the hand crossbow, if you will. Now, Minecraft does have light crossbows and heavy crossbows, as hand crossbows and heavy crossbows, in addition to the light crossbows, so it's not out of the question to have those items in Minecraft as well. But the light crossbow is the one to go by if we're looking at just a standard crossbow. For crafting a magic item, both Xanathar's Guide to Everything and the Dungeon Master's Guide has examples of being able to craft said magic items. We'll go ahead and take a look at the Xanathar's Guide to Everything piece to build these magical items, such as the enchantment table, the golden apple, and the Eye of Ender. You can find charts on the costs of creating magic items, both in Dungeon Master's Guide and Xanathar's, like I said, but we're mostly looking at Xanathar's for the price. To start with, character needs a formula for magic items in order to create it. The formula is like a recipe, hence why we're using it as an example for Minecraft. It lists the materials needed and steps required to make an item. And you can see in the different tables that we have here that there is a set cost and set time to be able to create these items, much like regular crafting items. Crafting regular items. I don't know why I mixed that up. Anyway, these are the tables that I have for you. The two that I have on screen right now are from Xanathar's. Now, let's go ahead and translate the tools of Minecraft into tools for Dungeons and Dragons. And it's actually quite easy to translate them. The loom is Weaver's tools, brewing stand is Alchemist's supplies, cartographer's table is cartographer's tools, smithing table can be considered the anvil, the grindstone. Smithing table, anvil, and grindstone can be considered smith's tools. A stone cutter can be considered mason's tools, since, well, that's the job requirement. A regular crafting table could be the wood carver's tools and the leather worker's tools, since that's what you're basically using for some of your more basic items. And also the compass is obviously your navigator's tools. And I don't think I need to explain what a furnace and its components, its variants, the smoker and blast furnace, need to be. They're just furnaces. I would say the smoker is more like cooking supplies. Anyway, moving on, the most important part of Minecraft is being able to, well, get through the night, and you kind of need a base of operations for that. So, on page 128 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, we have this for another downtime activity, building a stronghold. The building a stronghold table shows the cost of building the stronghold, including materials and labor, and the amount of time it takes, provided that the character is using downtime to oversee construction. Work can continue while the character is away, but each day the character is away adds 3 days to the construction time. So this is taken into consideration that you have hired someone to build this for you, a construction crew of multiple people. Now, that's not to say you can't build this on your own. You can. In fact, I would suggest using crafting an item mechanics from earlier in this video to help you with completing the structure in this table that I have on screen right now. Another important part of Minecraft is being able to eat, so we need to forage for food. On page 111 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, we have the following. Characters can gather food and water as the party travels at a normal or slow pace. A foraging character makes a wisdom survival check whenever you call for it, with the DC determined by the abundance of food and water in the region. On a successful check, roll 1d6 plus the character's wisdom modifier to determine how much food in pounds the character finds. Then repeat the roll for water in gallons. So, not a bad rule set, if I do say so myself. Honestly, it's a little bit easier to get food in Dungeons and Dragons than it is in Minecraft. Because, well, sometimes you don't see any animals wandering around. And half the time you can only get an apple when you've destroyed 10 trees. It's kind of hard. Though farming is actually a little bit easier. I haven't found any rules for farming, but I would assume that's part of the business rules in this chapter. Well, actually in the previous chapter, I believe that was in the same downtime activities chapter in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Anyway, moving on to harvesting creatures. Because you can't get all the materials just by chopping down trees or mining out some stone. You need to be able to kill some creatures and take their remains. Now, there is nothing in the rules for harvesting creatures. However, the 3 books I have on screen, Haemon's Harvesting Handbook, is a homebrew supplement that you can find in the Dungeon Master's Guild that goes over harvesting the remains of creatures that you have killed. And also being able to create some magic items using what you find. So that not only gives you a recipe for your magic items, but it also gives you a list of ingredients that you can gain from killing certain creatures. Also, Grim Hollow, the Monster Grimoire, has some similar tables in its book, so yeah, I would recommend checking that out. Moving on to resource gathering. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more homebrewy, sort of. If you go to my video Under Siege, I actually talk a little bit about this mechanic. And essentially, you are attacking an object, a non-living object. There is a set AC, hit point value, resistances, weaknesses, so on and so forth. So, we're going to use stone as our example. And 1 block in Minecraft is 1 meter cubed, and 1 meter is 3.37 inches. Oh, hold on. I knew something was wrong with that. Hold on. I knew something was wrong with that. Okay. One meter is 3 feet and 3.37 inches. There we go. Alright, so, with that in consideration, this block's size is small. Its material is stone, and it has a resilient toughness. So that would give us an AC of 17 and a 3d6 hit points. So, honestly, not that bad. However, stone does come up to be 3 tons. That is 6,000 pounds. And our friend cobblestone is not that much lighter at 2.2 tons, or 4,400 pounds. So Steve's going to have to make a couple of trips in order to carry all the cobble he's going to need to build his fancy house. So that's going to take a while for sure. And that's only if you're looking for certain size stones to make your structure. Not the best. So yeah, that's going to make things a lot harder. Both literally and metaphorically speaking. So yeah. Further on to the rules, we do have to take into consideration fall damage. I have never encountered this rule because nobody was stupid enough to jump off a cliff. At the end of a fall, a creature takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet fell, to a maximum of 20d6 or 70 damage. The creature lands prone unless it avoids damage from the fall. This is in the player's handbook on page 183. Honestly, I think this can be tweaked a little bit, because there are some creatures that still don't die when falling at a full height. There are some slightly stronger zombies that you would probably consider using. Some slightly stronger skeletons. They still won't die at this height. Or at least at this velocity. So I would consider tweaking the damage. Probably a D8. Or maybe even a D10. Or maybe once they get up to a certain height, like say 20, this would be 200 feet, increase the damage die at that maximum height. Increase it to 20d8 when it gets to, we'll say 210 feet. Maybe even a d10 once you get up to 300 feet. Make the damage somewhat worth it. And when I mean worth it, I mean never wanting to do that again. Another very common occurrence in Minecraft is accidentally trapping yourself underneath sand or gravel. Or, drowning. Page 183, we have the suffocating rule. A creature can hold its breath for a number of minutes equal to 1 plus its constitution modifier, a minimum of 30 seconds. When a creature runs out of breath or is choking, it can It can survive a number of rounds equal to its Constitution modifier, minimum of 1 round. At the start of its next turn, it drops to 0 hit points and is dying, and it can't regain hit points or be stabilized until it can breathe again. Holy cow. That's a whole lot more dangerous than in Minecraft. And I'm sure that would make for a fun experience. Some other rules to consider before we leave for today is the wilderness survival in the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 109 to 112. Weather, high altitude, wilderness hazards, and becoming lost. Also, the environment on the Player's Handbook, pages 183 to 185. Vision and light, and food and water. I would also consider looking at my exhaustion video, simulating exhaustion, to see all the rules involved with exhaustion, including the weather that I have mentioned here, as well as food and water, and the extent of what happens when you go too long with a certain condition. And unfortunately, that is all the time I have for you today. I actually went a little bit longer than I thought I would. What did you think? Would you try out this super hard difficulty in a Minecraft style of game? On Thursday, I am going to be doing a character conversion for Minecraft Steve and Alex. And later on, I do think I will be doing a video, again covering Minecraft, but seeing how you'd be able to convert the monsters of Minecraft into Dungeons and Dragons. But until then, there's going to be another character conversion for Moon Knight, as well as a character conversion for Venusaur coming up, hopefully by the end of this month, or maybe the beginning of next month. We'll see how that goes. Until next time, my dear viewers, this has been Drahjan, and I am offline.